Elements 2. And we are live with another Three the Hard Way. And here we are. We're going to discuss the movie Sinners, which came out this weekend and had a big kind of splash, made a lot of money, and didn't get the headlines that it was supposed to get. I haven't seen the movie, but these two brothers have seen the movie. I want to talk about it because the headlines are crazy. Actually, I went to look it up, and I just expected it all to be positive, and it wasn't all positive. So, anyways, but before we do that, Torrin, let's update on the Carmelo story that we talked about last week.
Well, right now, things are holding steady as far as the facts of the case. I believe the police department down there is still trying to piece together what really happened. But if you watch social media last weekend, there was a quote unquote fight for what's right and right a rally that they had in that city a couple on Saturday. It was supposed to be a rally in defense of Austin Metcalf, or basically to get justice for Austin Metcalf, and it wasn't the turnout that they expected to be. I think it was like maybe 200 or 300 people showed up. But the interesting thing about that march was that Austin Metcalf's father showed up. Jeff Metcalf showed up, and he basically told them, "You look like idiots. You're defeating the purpose of trying to get justice for my son. Go back home. This is not a white supremacist rally. This is not a case for white supremacists to hang their hat on. So you're basically making a fool of yourself." That didn't go over well for the people who organized that rally. A lot of people confronted him and basically said that he's furthering white guilt and that you're basically becoming a mouthpiece for the woke left and everything, and you're not doing your son any justice, which is fascinating because it's always fascinating to me how these things happen. I made the reference last week to this movie Life of Brian, how one incident, people will take an incident and they will turn it into whatever they want it to be, which has absolutely nothing to do with the crux of the incident. So I think that's what's happening now. It's fascinating to watch.
Yeah, I think it's crazy watching. It's like theater. This is a tragedy. Somebody's not with us anymore. Somebody is watching the rest of his life get ruined. And this is like theater. Like, what's up with the white supremacist march on since when? I feel like I went to sleep and I woke up in some crazy dream, right? Like these used to be a news cycle. It used to be like, oh that's terrible, that sort of thing. And then you just, I don't know, you moved on like it was a news story, but not this rallies and being on TV and social media and let me get myself into this. This young man's life is on the line and somebody else's life is gone. I think it's weird. Charles, anything, I feel like I can almost speak for you here. Like,
yeah.
I'm not surprised.
Well, I'm not surprised. and I mean, and like, listen, man, I know listen, man, it's just all sad, bro. Like I'm not, there are people taking glee and joy in this in one way or the other. And I don't understand those people. Like, and I want this young black man to be able to have a defense. And I'm glad they cleared up some rumors or whatever which they should have never had to. And another family lost their kid, man. Like these are kids we talking about, like regardless of what soapbox we get on, man, it's just really tragic. And so I'm just watching. I don't have a lot of strong thoughts outside of the obvious, but I appreciate the update.
Well, we wanted to update because we don't want to bring up these stories as if they're not real and then and just go by them. So anyways, there's the update on that. However, this week, a big movie came out. And I want y'all to walk me through it because I've been looking at the headlines. The headlines don't seem to make sense to me, but tell me why this was important. Why am I getting text messages asking me if I've seen it? And then people saying, you got to see it. No one has said anything like that to me in 10 years. The same group of people like all saying the same thing. Oh man, if you haven't seen it, you need to go see it right now. I'm like, well, damn, what is it? What's the movie about?
Torrin, let me clear the deck because I think you're gonna have a more elegant answer than I am, man. I just want you to see it because I think it's a great movie. I think it's just a really good, entertaining, well-written, highly produced movie. I like it for personal reasons. It touches on personal things. Ryan is from the same North Oakland that I'm from. I and my family trace you. I think you saw this with me before when I showed you stuff from my grandfather. Mississippi black dude ends up in Chicago, and then a part of my family ends up in California, some in Oakland, and it's Mississippi and Chicago with a lot of Oakland elements that people might not know. Like Delroy Lindo is from the UK, but he lives in the Bay. He's actually my boy Mylan's, his son's godfather. And when we do stuff with Black boys, he always shows up. So he has this strong Bay Area connection. Raphael Sadiq wrote a lot of the music that the young boy sang. And it's just a good, I think it's just a really, really good movie. I think there's some important elements that I think you're going to speak to, Torin, with a lot more elegance than I am. But just as a pure movie fan, before we get to the next layer stuff and what it means about Blackness and this allegory and all this stuff, it's just a really, really well done movie. I know a lot of people left there saying Dr. Umar be damned. I know that I know a lot of people left there saying everybody was beautiful in the movie. Every woman has some level of agency and was beautiful in their own way, whatever you liked. And it posed a lot of questions, Asian Black community questions, of when are you with us and when are you not? You know, like what does gentrification really look like? and what's worse, the Ku Klux Klan or a coven of vampires? And because of who Ryan Coogler is, he makes that a pretty difficult question. Ryan Coogler is really good at making you look at an antagonist in a different way, and I think it was really clever. So, Torin, I'll land that plane there.
All right. Well, everybody who doesn't know what we're talking about, and if you don't know, you must have been living under a rock for the past couple of days. We're talking about the movie Sinners, the new film by Ryan Coogler starring Michael B. Jordan and a cast of other people who are very, some new actors, some people who are not new in the UK and everything. But anyway, the bottom line is this movie is amazing. It has been #1 since it was released on the 17th of this month. It's already made back its cost, everything. It made $60 million over the weekend, still making more movies. People are going back to see it 2 and 3 times. I went to go see it twice on Friday and Saturday. It's an amazing film. And if you are Black American and you have roots in the Deep South, you're going to see elements in this movie that are going to touch the things your grandparents went through, some of the things that might be in the way you speak. But it was overall an amazing movie. I'm trying to talk around it without talking about too much to give away too much of the spoilers, but it was an amazing film. Michael B. Jordan most likely is going to end up getting the Oscar nomination. So is Delroy Lindo, because he really put his heart and soul into that movie. A lot of the things that the brothers talked about were amazing as well, because the bottom line, the premise of the story is basically, what do you own? What part of your heritage is really yours? What is your legacy when that legacy is really being made? Is in the movie set in the Jim Crow South, Deep South in the 1930s, Depression era. And it talks about our spirit, our soul, who owns that, and what price are we willing to pay? What are you willing to compromise and sacrifice to be able to be successful, quote unquote? And what are the risks of in signing on for something that you may not know the full details of? That's very vague, because I don't want to give it away for Chris. But yeah,
no, I don't think it's gonna be possible. I think Chris gonna get it spoiled.
Well,
but
and you know what? And not
not
just for me. You know, there's people in the audience that don't run right to a movie. I mean, like, I was surprised this week. I had things to do. I'm a grown man.
Well, that's why we say spoiler alert, brother. This is how this works, B. It's a spoiler alert.
Damn, y'all going in the middle of the day? You must be leaving your family behind. Anyway.
Well, hey man, but you know, opening weekend box office is important, and that's the thing you've been hearing a lot of the commentary about, right? And like the way they've kind of downplayed how well the movie is doing. It did just as good as Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which I also love. I like that movie a lot too. I love cinema. And it had less money. And so, and just the way that the deal was structured, Ryan Coogler structured a deal where he gets all his rights back 25 years from now. That's actually, that doesn't happen a lot, especially for this. And so, and the fact that he wrote it, and then I watched a lot of his interviews around how personal it was. I don't know. Did you? I can share this part. It's not a spoiler. Had you heard this, Torin, about why he wrote this movie?
I heard a couple of things, but I heard he wrote it because he wanted to basically honor like some of his family and everything, because he did
his uncle. Yeah. So he was living in the Bay Area, Oakland, Richmond area. And then his uncle was the oldest man living in his family, but he was from Mississippi, and he always talked about the blues, always listened to the blues. And when he was doing Wakanda Forever, no, it was Creed, and his uncle got sick, and then he had to come and edit the film, and his uncle died, and he's been feeling so guilty about it. He never he never really dealt with. And he said he would listen to the blues and close his eyes and he could see his uncle, which me saying that should make things clear for you, Torrin, about a certain scene. And then and it was just part of mourning. And then when Chadwick died and he had to confront all that death, and it took 4 years to do that, he said, I wanted to do a movie that was quick and that was personal. So I wrote this one really quickly to honor my uncle and those stories. And then he started doing all that research on blues. And then he started like, he got into grunge and was like, this just sounds like blues. And you know, and there's like an Irish kind of, you know, thing that's in there as well. So it was really deep when he tells the story. And I heard that after watching a movie, and they gave the movie a different weight as well. So I was, you know, I'm glad I heard that.
That's actually a good segue to get into some of the details of the movie. There's a really strong undercurrent of what does oppression look like for different people in different cultures, and how does that oppression cross over, and also how can that oppression become stacked to one another? How can people who've been oppress other people under the guise of fellowship, like a way? Because when you see the movie, Chris, fellowship is a very good underlying theme of the movie, but it depends on what does that fellowship look like. Is it a mutual exchange, or am I going to come to you acting like I'm trying to be an ally to you, and what am I going to take from you in return for the so-called fellowship? One of the threads in the movie is something that I really love, because I love music history and I love the idea of the origins of music. And for some of y'all who may know, some people may not, but when slavery first came to America, it took a long time for some of those codes and some of those laws to become codified. And there was also, when slavery was going on, when black slaves were coming over in the Middle Passage, there was also another migration. It wasn't necessarily forced, it was voluntary, but it felt some of the same conditions. There were Irish settlers who came over as indentured servants. And there was times when like black slaves and Irish were working in some of the same fields. And while that was going on, there was a lot of cross-cultural exchange going on, because you had Africans singing their traditional songs, and you also had Irish singing like Irish folk songs. And there was a lot of cross-pollination going on at that time. And one strain of that cross-pollination went into the blues. Another strain went into like country, and they do that really well in the movie. They show you how a lot of those strains are connected, and they show you how like you may have Irish settlers and people who came over, and they created their own folk music, and it was tied in also with black cultural music that came out of like West African rhythms and like field hollers and slave culture and that sort of stuff. So that's a very strong underlying theme. And another part of that theme is also like, if you're dealing with one form of oppression, I'm dealing with another form of oppression. Where do we align, but also where do we separate? Because there's ladders that you can take if you are an Irish indentured servant that you can fall into. And there's things that you're still, if you're black, that you're still going to be there, whether it's 100 years from now, whether it was 100 years in the past. So they did a really good job of tying in a lot of themes in the movie outside of just the horror element, when it talked about like how music can transcend time, it can transcend space, it can transcend where you are right now. Because everybody who really loves music or has had a song affect them in a certain way, if a song really affects you, it's going to carry you, whether it's going to put you into the mindset of whoever wrote that song, and it can take you outside of your body into wherever you're going. And that was a theme that was really, really prevalent in that movie.
Yeah, well, Chris should be able to be responding to this, because you played a few. I think you play a few different instruments. I know the guitar, right? Like, it's, you know, do you believe the devil is coming out of that guitar when you play it, Chris? Do you?
I will absolutely say to you that there have been musicians that you know that are famous that got their talent directly from Beelzebub. They signed a deal with him, and that's how they got their talent, and that's why they expired early. I can name names, but anyways, that's a different podcast. I will say this much.
But Buddy Guy is in there too. I don't know if you're a Buddy Guy fan.
I saw that. I was like, you know, years ago there was this movie with Ralph Macchio where, you know, he I've
been telling people about that movie. I know it's what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, you're talking about Crossroads.
What was it called?
Crossroads with Joe Seneca, the older man. Yeah.
So at the end,
what happened? I don't know the movie.
So you know, the devil is involved in that movie, and just to cut to the chase, there's a big guitar battle towards the end, and Ralph Macchio is like the Karate Kid of guitar.
Okay,
it's like Karate Kid, except for it's set in the South and it's in blues. You know, and they fight.
You got an old black Miyagi. You got an old black man Miyagi.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So, yeah. So it's the same movie, but it's just set in this time, and in that same one, I've been thinking about that as I've been thinking about this movie, because I was like, how is it a vampire movie? How's it a horror? So I heard you say all of this powerful social commentary. The thing about really good art is that it invokes with all of what you just said. I haven't seen a movie or heard of a movie in a long time where someone was saying all of what you just said. It's about oppression. It's about the history of this. It's about the way these things interacted with each other. Man, it's almost as if a college lecture became a movie. That's real art.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to put it. As someone who writes, that's what you want right there.
Yeah. I also think it has this Rorschach element to it. Like it kind of can be whatever, depending on how you lean with stuff. There's a lot of different messages. Like for instance, I don't want to spoil it, but it also asks a few other questions, like who should you let in your culture, and what happened. Like be careful with that. Like it may not all be bad, but it may also go really wrong. Or there's a lot of storytelling that Ryan does even before you get to the juke joint. And for instance, there's like this Chinese family, and on one side of the street they own a general store that's for blacks only. And on the other side of the street, they own a general store that's for whites only. And their daughter has to kind of run in between both, and they're running this business. But that family is accepted. And what does it mean when you accept that culture? And if they're really rocking with you until things threaten them, will they throw you out? Will they throw you under the bus? Or there are other things around, like if you've lost somebody and you deal with that loss, how's that waiting for you on the other side? It deals with a lot of themes. It deals with the theme of, hey, if we build this thing for our people and we know we owe this money, should we restrict this to only taking actual money? Or did we build this space that we say is for black people? Should we just let people bring whatever they got and enjoy it, even if it's at the demise of this business, right? What does it mean to be a black business serving the community, right? The brothers had to really kind of go into that. It was a lot of themes. Torin, I know I'm missing a few. What were some central questions that we could probably pitch out there that we can just discuss whether you've seen the movie or not?
Well, I think one thing we really have to touch on is the respect and the respectful way that this movie depicted like Deep South voodoo culture. And it also depicted black women, because this is a very, very important element. A lot of times when people do movies about the South, if you're not from the South, and sometimes I think about this myself too, because I'm originally from Florida, but I went to Atlanta, which is basically, it's the South, but it's not really the South because it's a metropolis. Mm-hmm. Atlanta is different from Deep South Mississippi or Alabama, and you can feel it when you go down there. But I'm saying that the movie did a really good job of respectfully talking about the layers and the culture of the Deep South in a way that if you have family from there and you love your family, you'll recognize people in that movie who are on there. Everybody got an old big, open, slow cousin who we love to death, but you can't trust him too much or nothing, because you let him get a hold of something, you're gonna tear it up. That was depicted. Everybody's got that beautiful black sister who everybody comes to when you're sick. She's gonna put something in a pouch for you, and you're gonna be straight. But she's also a woman, and you see her sexuality. You're gonna see the beautiful black woman who she knows she's doing wrong. You're doing wrong, but y'all want each other, and y'all go off and do y'all thing. That's depicted in there too. There's some beautiful black women, some beautiful dark-skinned women in there too. And also, surprisingly, you know what I'm going to talk about, Chris? There's a woman here who surprised the hell out of me, who I didn't know who she was.
Familiar with her game? Was it familiar with her game?
I said I didn't know. I knew her from the Mickey Mouse Club and Disney movies and stuff. And I'm like, she. Let me just say that that scene in the movies where like the ugly duckling throws on a dress and comes out, and it's like, you're like, damn. It's like that.
That's like every 80s movie.
Yeah.
It's like that.
You took your glasses off.
No,
damn.
It's like that real Nielsen. I'm like, oh, that's you? Damn. For real?
Wow.
You talking about
Ryan gave her some lines. There was some lines. It was some lines mixed in with the look, mixed in with the theme. And I told you a lot of
question about this.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
So you've said some really powerful things about like the social message and commentary. How's it treat the horror side?
You want to take it, Charles?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of people that was initially turned off by it because they sold it as a horror movie, but I would tell them it's not traditional. It's not Nosferatu, right? Like Nosferatu is another really high prestigious vampire movie that just got redid, but that is a horror. It's a beautiful movie, but it's a horror movie. This one it feels more like a Get Out kind of suspenseful. It has some action in it. Maybe if you're like a little kid, it's definitely too mature for you. And there are some parts that scare you, but I don't think if somebody's just afraid of scary movies, I don't think that they would have that experience for me personally. But I do think that they expand the genre. Like if you've seen From Dusk Till Dawn, which is probably the movie to easily compare it to, which is more of a B horror. This is a very elevated version of that, if that makes sense. You know, like that. Tarantino was just having fun. Like he was just doing what he do. He likes the B movie stuff. Like this was like, I'm using this mode to tell a different kind of story. And story that people gonna catch at different times at different parts of their life.
And you also got to factor in the fact that, look, we're talking about Black people in the Deep South during the Depression and Jim Crow. That is a horror unto itself. You know what I mean? So that's all. So you got to understand, you're dealing with a milieu that's already based in horror. There's scenes in there where they talk about the Klan and they talk about things that some of the characters have seen that traumatized them to this day when they were kids. So I think what it is, to me, it reminded me more of like Constantine, where it's like this idea of hell and the devil and everything is basically just sort of like a platform to talk about personalities, talk about how people react to trauma and react to horror, that sort of thing. So the vampire element, the horror element is definitely there, but it's horror on top of another horror that people are dealing with on an everyday basis. You know what I mean? And I think that's part of it as well. And again, it ties into that whole thing that Charles was talking about. Who are your allies in a situation that you're already dealing with? When that situation gets heightened up to almost supernatural and surreal levels of fear and terror, who moves and how do you move in that?
Yeah.
There was this set of tweets. I was just looking for it. Ben Stiller tweeted on this because Variety magazine put out a piece about this, and the headline was like, I mean, it's disappointing it only made this amount of money or something like that. And Ben Stiller's tweet that went viral was like, in what world is this headline matching the success of this movie? And him and some other, actors were starting to call out the fact that that it's not receiving the type of, the glow that this big weekend should be giving it. Right. Now, I just looked. I see some folks are updating their headlines. The first headlines were not very good, though. I mean, they weren't bad, but they were just kind of like, one of them said it only made. If you look at Business Insider, there's one that says it only made $60 million. I'm like, well, damn, twice as much, twice as hard. Always? Really? Still? Yeah. Damn. Well, let me ask you about this, because you guys don't give praise easily. You don't praise things easily, especially things with a social message and that sort of thing. Especially you, Torrin. Especially you.
Torrance, I resent that. Tell him I resent that remark.
Especially you. How did this ring your bell so much? Because, Okay,
I'll answer that.
Yeah.
I'll answer that. First of all, it's good filmmaking. I praise storytelling. I praise stuff for social messages all the time. But here's what I think things get left. I think sometimes when people try to create content with a social message, they forget to make good content. And I think that's where things fall there. It's just like going to church. Do you want to hear a boring preacher, or do you want to hear somebody who's going to give you some laughs and some jokes and everything? You got to put some sugar. You got to put the message in some sugar so people will swallow it. So what he did a really good job of entertaining. That's the first thing. The second part of it is going back to your point about the headlines. Ryan Coogler owns this movie through his production company. He did a very, very, very good deal with the studio. I'm looking it up right now. His studio, it went through Warner Brothers.
It went through Warner Brothers. I think he gets the top of the percentages now, and in the 25 years gets his full rights back.
And in 25 years, the rights to Sinners go revert back to his production company and Ryan Coogler. That's why they're upset about it, because if you listen to some of the other headlines, some of the headlines are like, well, the deal he got could upset Hollywood, or the deal he got could create a precedent that could make it dangerous for the studios.
Is it the end of studios?
Yeah, and that right there is, and it's ironic that that's the headlines that people went with, because the first headlines before the movie, for the numbers came in on that, taking that tack, it was like, what does Ryan Coogler's deal mean for Hollywood and everything? Basically, these Negroes getting too uppity now. It's ironic because that's a thread in the movie. It's like, what y'all want this meal for, boy? What you want to buy this for and stuff? It's the same sort of energy, ironically, in 2025 that they were dealing with in 1936. That's really what that's about. These Negroes own too much, and we don't like it. Hey boy, what you want with that? What you doing over there? They got too much stuff over there. We got to do something about that, bro.
So can I tack on there? I was going to just
Oh, go
continue
ahead.
to answer that question. It's also just beautiful. I mean, it's such a beautiful movie. Like even Ryan explaining with Kodak the different formats that you can go see the movie in and why and that. And like the other thing is there's like this groundswell of Black people that are loving this movie and gonna love it. But there's also these like creatives and just filmmakers of all race. Like, so Christopher Nolan is the first big thank you because he's like sat with him and was like, this is how I use IMAX film, and helped him take that to the next level. Spike Lee and all these people wrapped their arms around it. Like Ruth Carter is the person who did the clothes and stuff. Like everybody is kind of wrapping in on him. Ben Stiller stepping up and being like, don't play these games with him, because he knows that it's not just Soderbergh anymore. If it's Soderbergh and it's Coogler and it's Peele and it's me, Ben Stiller, like we coming for, you know, kind of what we want. And honestly, man, it's just a really, really, it's not a perfect movie, right? Every movie you can find some things, right? Like some people will find things to nitpick, but it just hits the marks. It's like when Get Out came out and it just got people. It was just such a profound effect in that movie. And so I think that's another reason why I just like it. So it was so enjoyable to watch.
And I got to talk about this. I talked earlier about the music. The music carries this movie. The music in this movie pulls people from not just like blues. It does this whole gamut from blues to hip hop and how it's all influenced. Even the Irish music. I saw the movie in a predominantly, I say the crowd had to be maybe like 60-40 black, white. And I saw black kids.
Black folks jamming to it.
I saw black kids in there. I ain't doing that stuff, not buying this music. This is Irish folk music that's 400 or 500 years old, and people were vibing to it. It shows the universality of music. It shows you how music can pull you in, even if it's from a different culture. The same way other people do that with black music. It shows how music, if it grabs people and it pulls people by the soul, it will pull you in. I'm telling you. They said I think I looked at the numbers. They said like Irish folk music jumped to like number 5 on Spotify. The songs on the soundtrack have jumped to like top 5 on the Spotify. It's like an Irish band. I forgot the name of it, but they did all the Irish music. And all of a sudden, they just built up a whole new lane. You're going to see Irish folk music in clubs and stuff in the music. And I'm not joking either.
Yeah.
It might be a resurgence of the blues coming too, which I would love to see. But Buddy Guy, people like that.
It never left just for the record, it never left my playlist. Just, you know,
the blues.
But I'm old, so you know.
Did you also have the appreciation for grunge and for? I mean, because he was exploring other music as well. Yeah, and it made him feel. And he was like, "Oh shit! Like other we ain't the only one. There's other coaches that find ways to like make these connections. But it started with blues. It started with black people."
So, so number one, I hope this sets off like a black creative lane where people step out of boxes and they start creating things that are just unique to them. But I would ask you guys a question. Like Peele was called like the Hitchcock of our time. That's what they were saying about him after his last movie.
That's a lot.
You think it's a lot?
That's a lot. I mean, he did great, but that's.
Do you feel like it's too much? You feel like it's too much?
Hitchcock is Hitchcock. I mean, we don't have to.
Well, I said of our time, like his movies are suspenseful in the same kind of tradition.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that.
That's like a dope R&B singer coming. As somebody saying that's the Prince of our time. And he got 2 dope albums.
It's more like saying it's the Keith Sweat of our time. You know, if I said it's the Keith Sweat,
you gonna stop disrespecting Keith Sweat?
Even if you're a student of film, but you really are a film fan, you don't really see a lot of parallels with Peele and like Hitchcock. I say M. Night Shyamalan is closer to Hitchcock than anybody else.
I would say that.
Yeah, Peele, really? I would say Peele to me kind of goes into the surreal lane of like maybe all along the lines of a Kubrick, something like that, where he gets into the not so much the supernatural, but sort of like more of the psychology and everything, and with a little bit of mix of Spielberg mixed in with like special effects. To me.
Right. But what echoes are you hearing when you watch this movie? What echoes are you hearing?
Whew. Man, honestly, man, this is so unique. I don't really hear a lot of like film echoes in this movie, but I see a lot of cultural echoes where it's tied to things like the blues and sort of like storytelling. What I see it as more like the idea of like quantum physics or quantum mechanics tied into like film and music and everything, because transcending space and time is very much a theme in this movie. And I feel it goes into the realm of science more than it goes into the realm of art for me.
I would say if Christopher Nolan mixed with Spike Lee, that's what I would say. I would say Chris Nolan mixed with Spike.
I don't know that.
Well, Christopher Nolan in the sense of the way he likes to tell movies. So, you know, Ryan talks about The Prestige, and you'll get that if you seen a Prestige and the twin connection with the twins here, or like he looks at Christopher Nolan and Spike Lee in a lot, and again, and they both mentor him. So that's where I kind of see it. Like, I mean, he filmed it in a format that I don't think has been used or is so rarely used. You know, it's like it's only like 10 theaters in the world that can truly show the movie the way he intended to. Like, that's very Christopher Nolan-esque, right? Like, I'm doing all this on IMAX, which is really, really expensive, which they tried to roll into some of those headlines because the movie was expensive to make, and then he wants a marketing budget like everybody else. The other thing, Chris, which I think you would like, is the role that his wife plays. His wife is the executive producer on this movie. He definitely looks at Pauletta and Denzel Washington, or these family, like he wants this for like his family, and I think that that's also really dope too.
Mm-hmm. What's the age group that you think is going to really get the most out of this?
I think 15 up, 15, 16 up.
You say like 15?
Listen, 15, 16. And if you are a 15-year-old boy watching this movie, this is just some conversations you want to have with your little man after that. That's all. You just want to, I'm telling you, you want to just talk to your son about what are you seeing, and we need to have a conversation.
So parents actually listen to this. That means don't go with your 15.
I don't think it does. I actually don't think it does, man. I think there are some lessons in there. Now, you know, we can have a conversation about if people really love their husband in this world. But other than that, though, I mean, but there were some beautiful. One of the brothers and one of the women have a baby together. I don't want to give it's not giving it away because you find out really early they lost their child. But put it like this, the sex was not gratuitous. The sex actually played a role. Like, it was actually a part of, you know, it wasn't just there to be there. It had a role to play. And in this instance that I'm talking about, you actually feel the love between these two characters, and it carries on through the movie, and it carries on to the end. And it's actually really beautiful. And I actually think if you're going to introduce a black boy to sex, there's a positive conversation of what this should be versus what it could be, right? And like so I'm not being raunchy for the sake of being raunchy. I actually think there's a sophisticated conversation to have between a father and son, or generation to generation.
And also, if we're talking about the sexual aspect of it, it is a rated R-rated movie, but the sex is handled in a way where it's not exploitative. It's like in the three scenes that you talk, that the sex scenes in the movie. One is where you got two people who are dealing with pain, who are trying to give each other comfort. You have a younger man who's learning about sex and everything, and he's doing it with a black woman who's willing to actually be coached and actually help him find his way. Now, there's a conversation you can have about should they have been doing that or not. The movie is called Sinners, and but you'll find that out for yourself. And then the other part of it is just raw sexual animal passion, but it's all done in a way where you can feel like this is all done in ways where people actually are relating to each other, and it's not nobody taking anything from somebody and nobody being used and everything. It's mutual.
This is going to be really bad to say, but there was that HBO show. What was it called?
Which one?
That was like this. Because I was going to say, like, it sounds just like this. It was set.
Was it about sex?
It was set in an older time. Black folks kind of like in a Rosewood type of situation. By the end, it was like science fiction, and
you're not talking about Interview with the Vampire, are you?
No.
Love there it is. Brother Doug just put it up there. Lovecraft Country.
That's Lovecraft Country.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That show was incredible. I wish that show
was watching that.
Yeah. And I thought they were going somewhere really good with it too. But
so I mean, I haven't seen this movie, but it sounds like kind of a similar type of, Rosewood meets, Exorcist meets, I don't know, something. Star Wars.
Have you seen From Dusk Till Dawn? That's probably a good.
Yeah.
It's a similar premise, but it's kind of reverse, right? Juke joint, or in this case, some kind of bar, and then and then shit shows up and things happen. But there's a theme. There is a lot of themes, and Ryan said it's probably the movie that a lot of people are going to compare it to, and they should. And he's a fan of that movie, but it's like there's this element of brothers. And when do you take care of your brother? When does family come before whatever? And is that bond transcendent amongst other elements? I don't know how to say that without giving things away. It's about family. Who is your family? Who do you protect? And also there's a lot about assimilation and like and he complicates things because there's a mid-credit scene, and it's one of the most effective mid-credit scenes I've ever seen, and it recontextualizes the movie for me because it showed me something that was possible that like, well, shit, if I knew that was possible, there might have been some different decisions made from some people if there was a choice around this thing. And they ask you this question of, if you got to deal with the Klan or you got to deal with something else that might be unfamiliar to you, but if we come together and we actually are one people in love, but it puts you, listen, and this is why Coogler's great, because I can't even explain it well, but it puts you in this moral quandary the same way Killmonger puts you in a moral quandary of like, oh, I think that makes sense. Or in Creed, where it's like the Russian, you like, oh, I guess there's more to this story, there's more to this person. Like there's more to this vampire, and this vampire on some level really feels like he's doing the right shit. Whether I believe him or not is kind of not really the point. But somebody in that juke joint would have believed it, like, you know, and a lot of them did. So it that's what good movies do. I don't like the movie where there's like a woman got to choose between two men, so we make one of the men just horrible. Like that's just easy. I have no choice in that. But I think in something like this, where it's like, hey, bro, the Klan is coming for y'all, B. Like I don't know what you think is about to happen, but like. You know, there's another way to do this, and then I think also, and like you said, that was dope too, Torn. There is a dual threat. It's like, are these vampires the worst thing possible, or is Jim Crow and the Klan even worse? And you know, I'm just telling you, bro. I'm not doing a good job, but
do you hear yourself? This is like, so the movie is okay. If you have a choice out of the Klan and vampires.
Yeah, but brother, we're speaking from the place of being in 2025 and being able to have this distance from that. But you know, but imagine, put yourself in the place of a sharecropper picking cotton in Mississippi in 1936. You know what horror is. You don't need Stephen King or nobody to come down and tell you what a horror movie is. You see horror every day. Your brother's not here because he got lynched. When you're dealing with that level of oppression, when you're dealing with the fact that, you know, you can't even defend your woman, you can't defend yourself half the time, and somebody's coming to you with an alternative. Well, I mean, is this horrible? Yeah, and I got blood dripping down my neck and half my face is gone. But is it worse than this? I mean, what's the difference? Do you want to get castrated or do you want to fight? And it's like, that's a really, when you got those hard choices and your back is against the wall like that, that can be a very, very enticing choice, especially if you can get some get back on the end of it. You know what I mean? It's a hard thing to say.
I got to keep asking you guys questions, you know, around the story, because I haven't seen the story. But you know how, like, you mentioned Shyamalan, right? So that dude peaked on his first movie. In my mind, I feel like he did
Illmatic first.
I feel like he made a lot. He made a lot of good movies after that. I'm not saying they weren't. I'm just saying his first one was his Star Wars.
It's hard to top it.
It was hard to top The Sixth Sense, because now every movie you knew he was going to have this twist. You were looking for the twist. In The Village, you were like, what's going to be the twist? And it showed up just like a bus. You know, that's the twist, right? With Peele, you know, Get Out. I don't know if that's going to be his same situation. I don't know if that's the peak, because
this new one looks pretty good too. It looks pretty good.
What would you say? Where's this in Coogler's portfolio?
Oh, I like that question. You know, I like it.
You want to take it?
Yeah, and I don't want to sound like I'm a prisoner of the moment, but I think this is his magnum opus. I think it is. You can see how much better he's gotten from from Black Panther to when he was doing Creed. Like, he just gets better every movie, and like he feels like such a master in this one. And I think this one, because it has a little bit of every single movie that he's been successful in, and he is redefining or expanding a horror genre. Like, I feel like it's gonna become some type of sub, kind of what Get Out was, man, on some level. I think here's the other thing, which I'm worried about, the same thing that I saw happen with Get Out. You see a lot of bad clones after. I think the bad clones are being made right now. There's gonna be so many attempts at this, and I think there's a different depth that you have to have. So for me, it's his best movie. And you know, Fruitvale Station is still the hardest for me to get through, because just it's too personal for me. I was there, I was around that. Like, I catch Bart on New Year's Eve, right? Like, so that was just hard to do. Black Panther, the first one, like, you know, the last scene the third act kind of falls apart, but he does really well. I think this is his best. I mean, this is Academy Award winning stuff. And I'm kind of scared because it came out so early in the year. Like, if you get 5 more movies better than this, you had an incredible year of movies.
I think honestly, I'm going to go along with Charles here. I think because this movie is so dense and there's so many layers to it and it's hitting on so many different levels almost in every scene, I think there's a lot of ways this can go. But I think, this is his masterpiece for right now. But I also see where this can be branched off into a lot of different areas and a lot of different genres. I don't want to. I'm trying my best not to be kind of vague enough to not tell you everything. But there's so many things that are happening in this movie that I think that it could be. I think right now it's amazing. Like, and plus, as far as like awards, I think it's so stocked with amazing actors who are operating at their A game right now that I can basically see it possibly sweeping the awards like Honora did like last year for the Oscars and everything. I think Delroy's definitely going to get nominated. I think Michael B. Jordan is definitely going to get nominated.
Yeah, man.
This young man, I don't know about this young man, but he's a very good talent. This is his first movie. His name's Miles Caton. He's going to get nominated. I think the guy who played the Irishman, he's going to be up for one. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be an amazing film.
Yeah, and I think Delroy Lindo and Delroy is such a savant at acting, and there's a scene where they're just getting recruited and they're in the truck, right? And they pass the chain gang. Delroy's character is a drunk. This doesn't mess up any of the movie. He's a drunk, and then he sees this chain gang, and you see this emotionality on his face, but he starts smiling and he tells this story. And then he talks about this man that was and they was gonna hit it big, and he cashed in all his chips to go do this, and he got caught on the train with all his money, and Delroy is remembering it, and he's like, and they caught that man and said he stole it from a white girl or something like that, and they took his manhood, and he's like about to cry, but then he like breaks out and like this. It's just the scene by itself will be shown in acting classes of like how you tell a story without overselling it, bringing people in, keeping a strength, and then it's like, oh, I see why he drinks the way he drinks. Like, and just seeing his brothers locked up on this chain gang, like right there, you know what I'm saying, and like screaming hope to them. I can't explain it. It's just. And that's why it's so good, because there are so many feelings that you leave with that you can't, there's no language for it. The language is the acting of it. And you know, and I think Coogler said even he was just blown away. He was like, I just wrote it. And also, this is the only movie that is truly original for him, right? Black Panther is an IP. Fruitvale Station happened. The other, you know, so the Rocky stuff is Stallone's. This is his story, like that he took and wrote from scratch, and it meant you could just tell it means a lot to him.
One more thing I just thought of. I think we had to mention this in this movie. If you look and listen to the story, and I'm glad you mentioned it, Charles. The thing that it reminded me most of is the work of August Wilson. August Wilson is very good at like taking stories that are connected to Black people, Black men in particular. And he's really good at finding so many layers in the story that you think is one thing. And the further you go into it, you realize there's some horror beneath this. I'll give you an example, like that scene have you seen The Piano Lesson? There's a scene in The Piano Lesson where they're sitting around.
Like he took this straight from The Piano Lesson, but yeah.
There's a scene that stuck with me in the Willie. I was fortunate enough to see the play actually when I was younger. There's a scene in it where Willie Boy, and I forgot the other character that came up from with the selling watermelons. They start talking about Parchment Farm, and they start doing this ring shout that came from the chain game where they're stomping their feet, and you know they're doing a song that's ties to breaking rocks. The two men started. Then the guy who came over to the house started singing it, and then the grandfather that was in the house started singing it, and then you start realizing all 4 of these men been incarcerated in Parchment Farm over the years and everything, and you think about the horror of that. There's a lot of that element of August Wilson's plays that have those layers into it that are in this movie. I mean, there's so many different layers. It's like reading a book, and every line has 4 or 5 different meanings going on. I loved it.
I think that scene came from Piano Lesson, and I also think the playing of the music and the connection to ancestors, right? Because that's what the whole Piano Lesson was when we moving this piano from the house because my daddy wanted me to build. Anyway, it's a really. I don't know if you're an August Wilson fan, Chris. it's really, really dope. And Denzel Washington and Pauletta Washington now own the series. They own it. So they're turning them into movies. All of their kids are involved with it. So like Denzel's daughter produced the movie. All the kids that want to act have to go and act in August Wilson movies. And it's just, I mean, August Wilson plays, I'm sorry, that's how they get good. Like Viola Davis came up through that. Denzel Washington came up through that. Samuel L. Jackson, like all these, it's this like thing that August Wilson set up that's now kind of this transcendent platform that all these Black people are using. And, you know, Denzel Washington has kind of adopted Ryan Coogler as well, right? So it's really this beautiful, like Samuel L. Jackson, he's only talking to you about go support Ryan. Denzel Washington, go support Ryan. Spike Lee, go support Ryan. Christopher Nolan, go support Ryan. Ben Stiller, go support Ryan. And I've not seen an industry wrap around a new person like this. You know what I'm saying? Where they'd usually be a little afraid or a little scared. Ryan is knocking down doors that's about to make things better for a lot of other people, and it's kind of scary. I think the studio. Don't be surprised if something come out about Ryan Coogler at some point, because
I was about to say like the way you just pumped him up, I was like, yeah, the way you just talked about it to me, that sounds like the tall before the fall, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know,
even Pedro Pascal posted a picture on Twitter today with him wearing a Sinners hoodie on and stuff like that. Everybody's backing this.
And I think Pedro was like, shut up and go watch it. Just go. Like, he was like, I'm gonna just shut up. You just go watch it. And and these are actors or directors. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that was the other thing. I'm not guilted into liking this movie. You know those movies where they trying to guilt you into it, but it sucks.
One. I bet you I can name one.
I can name a ton.
I ain't gonna do it, but I know what you're saying.
Does it have Miss Celie in it? Does it have Miss Celie in it?
Maybe. I mean, I will say my mama and sister love Color Purple. In my house growing up, they could do every line, but I think that new thing was that. I think the new thing was that. I think Us was kind of that, right? I don't think it was kind of quite there. I mean, there are some. They tried to do some with the Tubman movie. It wasn't as good as it could have been, right? It just wasn't. And the sister that did it was controversial in her own way, not really respecting the Black American culture. It was, so there's a bunch, you know what I'm saying? This, you don't have to, like, everybody is like, there's something for you. Listen, if you're an Irish person, and just because that person's Irish, you still have a prideful moment. Like, there's still kind of respect of like, hey, I came over here, I've been through this already. Y'all, like this Jim Crow thing, I'm telling you, I've seen it when we came. You can be with us though. Like, if you want, you just got to make sure that bluesy stuff is in my Irish stuff, and you got to give that to me. And is that worth it? Is it worth it? And there's a question about assimilation, and there's a finality of it where one chose one thing and one chose another thing. And if you debate it, I think people in that time, you wouldn't just get 100% of people that's like, no, I think I'm gonna stay in this Jim Crow thing with no powers, with no group and no people. I'm not doing this no more. It asks tough questions. It asks a question: if my daughter's at home and I'm here and I was just coming to build a sign and sell some food, and now y'all got devils and shit, and they say they about to go get my daughter, do I risk all of y'all in here who I say I'm down for? You know what I'm saying? Do I throw all y'all lives away to save my daughter? There is, are you an octoroon, right? Like, we can get into the octoroon piece of it, right? Yeah. When you 1/8 and you love this girl and she look white.
I'm gonna give you the full. There you go. Talk about some octoroon. There you go.
Well, I talk about the octoroon thing, right? Because I've dealt with it. I mean, I it's a reality, right? People passing for white, and there's been some movies that's talked about it. And in this one, it's like, like, we can't be together for X amount of reasons. Not only like they will kill you, like they'll kill you. Like when they find out that you got that black in you, you risking a lot to be here. You sure you want to do that? You know what I'm saying? So it's just the movie is good because it actually is not giving you easy outs on things. Like, do we accept this octoroon person? Am I mad that this woman whose family has been down for black people and for all this time, am I mad that she passes? Do we root her on in that? Like, it just, what it does, Chris and Torrin, in my book, is things that we would kind of throw away as easy decisions. I think that Ryan spent some time with it and was like, well, let's ask it a different way.
This is what I'm afraid of now. I'm afraid that since y'all two like it so much, I'm not gonna like
That you're gonna hate it.
You just want to
y'all
be
just
contrarian.
said no, it's not contrary. Y'all just said several things that make me suspicious now. Like,
Yeah.
like you know, like
It's not a perfect movie. It's not. I don't think it's perfect.
I like the color purple. And when y'all say, "Well, I had to feel guilty to that one, but I don't feel guilty about this one," I'm like, oh, "Okay, is this gonna be?"
No, I said I feel more guilty about the new color
like,
purple.
You know,
The original,
like, you know,
yeah, the
FDA
new one
type
was on
stuff.
some other
What's
stuff.
about to happen here?
The one thing I will say to Charles's point about the whole Octoroon story, there was a couple the couple things that I had. I won't say I had an issue with it because I love the movie, but a couple things that struck me as a little bit fault, kind of like funny notes. There's a scene in the movie where the Octoroon basically confronts Michael B. Jordan's character in public, and to be honest with you, in that time, the way that was kind of set up, there was no way in hell no white man and no black man gonna be able to talk the way he was talking in public and everything, and everybody get out alive. The other thing that other thing I wish could have been developed. There's a scene with natives that I think could have been a really stronger plot point than it was. I feel like they were given this exposition, and then you don't see him anymore. And I feel like that plot point could have been explored a little bit more. Other than that, I loved it, but I just want to put that in there.
Yeah, the thing that I wonder about, and you can tell me if it does this, when you think about our history and you think about like period pieces, you always have an eye, like you're suspicious about whether or not they're going to do it justice. Because our history is very important and our understanding of it is terrible. So we are actually raising kids that don't know so much about very important things in history. And I wonder if a movie like this that is mixing vampires and entertainment with serious kind of, it's almost like there's a movie a couple years ago. I don't know if y'all saw it. It was about a few years ago. It was about Abraham Lincoln and vampires.
I love that movie.
Did you?
I did. That movie was fun as hell. It's a graphic novel.
I was tripping when I thought it was a joke. I was like, Abraham Lincoln and vampires, right?
It was great.
Now there's not 4 people that can recite the Gettysburg Address in my network. not 4.
7 years ago, B.
That's it. That's
boom.
it. And then with the rest of it, yeah, boom.
Give me an A.
But I wonder, like in this situation, I don't really wonder. I would throw that out to y'all because, it's probably not a problem. But I'm just wondering, excuse me, if you learn some of your history from things like this, vehicles like this, are you going to really be okay?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I think we use popular culture a lot. I think it does kind of help with that a little bit. I mean, look, one of the most abused terms right now is gaslighting. That came straight from a movie. You know what I'm saying? Like people got that from a movie. It got some legs before and got some more in the last 5 years. And you can't go a day without hearing somebody gaslight. I think they just disagree with you. I don't know if everything gaslight, but that came from popular culture, right? Or like I think Get Out started a conversation around like, oh, I can explain and lecture to you about the way that the liberal white people be kind of fronting on some stuff. I can make you read, letter from Birmingham jail from MLK. But Us was an art form where you got white people done said I would have voted for Obama a third time. Like it gave people that license to have those conversations. And I think this is doing it on a double layer, right? This is doing on like the Black, Indigenous, Irish settler, Mississippi, Deep South, or Chicago is just Mississippi with tall buildings statement, like, Black migration, like it's doing it on that level. And the other level that is doing it is in real time, the economics of a Black filmmaker and a Black creative and him having agency over his property and like what he does. Y'all kept saying that you was tired of sequels. We tired of comic book movies. We tired of like of old IP. So somebody created brand new IP and is killing at the box office. Oh, and by the way, it's a rated R horror movie. Like, this is why people were so annoyed. Chris was like, first off, nobody expects horror movies to do well at all. They're cheap to make, and you got to be a real fan. So any kind of profit is going to be good. Like, ask, what's his name? The Rodriguez dude that rocks with, like he deals with that. So for him to make this much money, to be his own boss, call these shots and inspire people around him, like there are people that's going to pick up a computer and try to write a story based off this movie. Like that's it's like I've heard you talk about this. We on the road, Chris. I don't know if it was Prince, but it was somebody you saw play a guitar one time, and it was enough for you to be like, I will move from where I live to somewhere else to be able to impact people like that.
Yeah,
And it's going to raise somebody like that.
Minneapolis,
I think what's going to happen too is the way you excite people about learning about their history is you got to give them a story that's compelling enough for them to go do their own research. And like I said earlier, you got black kids who are in the hood, or black kids who probably don't even care about this stuff beforehand, who went to see this movie, and now they're downloading Irish folk music. Try to compare, think about that because
I feel like y'all selling that one a lot. I feel like you're selling that one. I gotta go. See, I gotta keep notes. I gotta make all the notes so when I go see this movie.
go on Spotify right now and see what's in the top 10 music right now over the weekend. Yeah. It's blues music and it's some Irish folk songs that this guy was singing and everything because it was bop. Because to be honest with you, it was a bop. I was nodding my head to some of that stuff. It was dope. When you got people like that willing to go down that rabbit hole and start looking at cultures outside of what they know, and they also start getting interested in things that they may have a cursory interest in, especially like the Deep South in Alabama, because these kids who are like 18 and 19 and 20 going to see Sinners, they have a vague idea about the Deep South. They know about the Klan and Jim Crow, but the way it's presented visually, it's giving them an interest in it, and it's giving them compelling reasons to go try to figure out what these stories are about, look for the real in it. I think that's going to be the ultimate. I think that's going to be the ultimate win of this movie. It's going to get people who would normally have these black and white, because people have these ideas of like that history, like it's all sepia tone, old pictures and black and white stuff in history books and on the YouTube and on the web. This brings that history to life, and if you bring history to life, then you're gonna get people interested in it, especially when we live in a visual 8-second attention span culture. When you got major stars behind it, and you got attractive women in it, so that's gonna pull people into.
And it's not it's not a sad ass slavery movie, bro. Like that's the other thing. They show these people having fun. They show these people having a good time. They recreate the very famous painting that's on the good, from Good Times, right? Like in the beginning, like in the juke joint, right? Like you want to be at that party, like you want to be there, and it's like I don't know how many of these movies where I see something that's either slavery or Jim Crow, and I'm like, I want to be at that thing, like you know what I'm saying? Like this is like you want to be there, and Chris, I was gonna ask you, how would you feel if like blues? Because you said blues ain't never left you or your house because you have an appreciation. How would you feel if like one of your younger kids, because of this zeitgeist, is like, Dad, I want to go check out this blues concert. Like, can you talk to me about who this Buddy Love person, who this Buddy Cat is? Like, who is this? Why they keep talking about the devil? And why is he, what's all these people that keep talking about the devil? Like, ain't that bad music? How excited would you be as somebody who actually lived that life and had real aspirations if this movie helped launch that? That's power.
Yeah, I would love it if young people or any people did what both of you just said. They left this movie and they thought, man, I'm still thinking about this. I need to look some stuff up. Because I can't remember years ago, there was this movie with George Clooney and
Brother, Where Art Thou?
Yeah. So the soundtrack went bananas.
Crazy. Yeah.
And I didn't like the movie at all, but I went down the rabbit hole of the music. Like that one song that went bananas made me think, oh, this feels soulful for white folks. Let me go find out more about this, because this is but more than black folks coming out wanting to do that, which I think would be a good thing. But I also think it would be a good thing for Irish people to come out, realize, and remember that they were the black people of white people.
Right.
Yeah, I need y'all to, if your name is McGinnis and you're out here walking around with the Proud Boys, I need you to understand that you was the black people of white people. They used to draw pictures of apes of the Irish. They used to the Irish
digging in the ground, potato diggers, all kind of
man. They hated Irish. The Irish.
Italian too.
Here's the thing, though. I think here's the thing. I think the Irish in Ireland know that, because if you look at their political motivations and the way they moved, especially with the Palestine thing, the Irish in Ireland never forgot that. It's the assimilated Irish that came over to America that wanted to assimilate with whiteness and forgotten all that. They talk about that in The Departed. There's a bunch of different beats going on with Irish people just in Boston like that. You got some who are connected to the homeland and everything. And you got some who are more racist than the whites that brought them over here to work and everything. You know what I mean?
Let me ask y'all a different question. These are all the same type of questions around the fringe of the thing. This is the best movie since what?
In this vein, I say Get Out. Just for impact, I'm trying to think of a movie that's kind of like been there. Like it's not like Dune is up there, but Dune is such an epic like
Dune is not
film.
up there.
Oh, Dune is absolutely up there. I cannot wait.
It's up there
Vinny
with
Del Nuevo
Ambien,
start.
and it's up there with things that put you to sleep. Ambien,
Well, we can agree to disagree. I don't see it on the level. It's not Endgame or Doom where it's like these big like event type of like you come into it's an event. The movie's an event, but I think it feels like the synergy when if you could mix Black Panther synergy with Get Out, it feels like that, and without Disney, right? Like Warner Brothers is big, but Warner Brothers ain't Marvel. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like this is a huge hit for them. It's like when Interstellar came out. Like it feels like when Christopher Nolan has a like we're saying Ryan Coogler in the same breath as Christopher Nolan, which is and Christopher Nolan gets whatever he wants now, whenever he wants, and Christopher Nolan and Vinny Del Nuevo, who did Dune, those three people, Vinny Del Nuevo, Chris Nolan, Ryan Coogler, they're the ones that saying we're making movies for the theater. We're gonna use IMAX. We don't care about your bottom line. We'll take the risk. And they all took some kind of personal risk in doing it. And they don't like this streaming shit. So like when those type of three people and they started putting up numbers, so I'm saying it's big like a Nolan movie. Like when Nolan says when Oppenheimer and they just said the name Oppenheimer and the shit was already sold out like for 6 months, like before, like I think Ryan Coogler is approaching that hallowed ground.
If I had to make a comparison to other movies, I'd say this is the biggest movie since The Hunger Games because it has some of those same threads in there. And I also see this movie has enough legs that it can be one. You could have like origin stories off of this. You can have stories about like the natives who were in this. You could have stories about the origins of the or the Irish in that. There's a lot of different things this could be. This could be a franchise movie if it's done right. So that's how I see the power.
I hope they don't though. I just want it to be one story, but I hear you. I think they will, but
they will.
Sorry, Chris. I hope they don't.
Okay, so maybe it doesn't set off franchises, but does it set off a path for him in a genre? Maybe it's not the same story over again, but it's a genre that he breathes in. He keeps breathing this out more.
I think he can do whatever he wants.
Or does he just? I heard something about the Fantastic Four, something like that. Does he just go back or switch gears to something different?
I think we're in a place now where you don't have to be locked into a genre. You can do what you want if you're good at it. And he's already proven he can do it with Black Panther. He can do a straightforward like action, Marvel movie.
Creed.
And he can also, Creed. He can do like a sort of like a smaller, independent like personality piece and everything. And he can do something like this that is so like surreal and abstract, but also grounded in reality. That I think he can do anything. He's building a base. He's building a over that can really touch on a lot of different things in a lot of different ways.
Even if he doesn't do this, is this a genre that goes on its own? Does somebody else come along and say, yeah, that's a thing. I want to like blow that up a little bit more. Did he create a genre?
I don't think he created a genre, but what I think he did, he made space for a genre like this to be lucrative, and he made space for this genre to expand. Because he's not the first director to take a story that's universal and then tie it into Black culture and then expand that out to wider audiences and make it bigger than the source material. There's a really good filmmaker named Prentice Perry who did a movie called Uncorked that I've been telling people to go watch. It's about this young Black man. He grew up working class. It's not the hood, but in the hands of another director, somebody who doesn't know the culture, it would be hood stuff. It ain't hood stuff. It's just people who catch the bus and go to work every day and got a girlfriend. But he loves wine. And he ends up being able to, his family, he's got conflict with his father because his father wants him to take over the family business. It's no different than Succession. They just don't have billions of dollars. He wants to go do something creative. His parents don't really go for it, but he goes and does that. Those are universal stories. But when you put those universal stories in a Black skin, then a different layer comes onto it. So I feel like he's opened the lane up for that to be something that can be bigger that other artists, other directors can take over.
I think it's dope you named that movie. Prentice is he's the one who made Insecure. He's the showrunner for Insecure. And this is a really, I think it was his story. I think it was about him actually. And like when a Black person wants to be like a sommelier and you get the shit that you like, the fuck is that? Like what, or like what, you better than us now? You want to go be what? You want to go to Paris for France to do what? Right. And some sacrifices there. But That was a deep cut, brother. That you brought up. That I watch a lot of movies, y'all. I just realized because I do.
But that's one of my favorite movies. I was going around preaching on court the way I'm preaching Sinners to people now. I've got a lot of people that love that movie. And you're right though. I forgot he did the Insecure scene. He did the Insecure episode.
He's the showrunner.
Yeah, there was one he did. He directed with Issa Rae and the cat from I guess he's supposed to be from Compton, was just walking around, just doing stuff, going in people's pools and just stuff like that. It was just a random day. That was a dope episode. Black people just doing regular stuff. That's almost like sci-fi at this point now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna go see it this week. I'm probably gonna just disappear during the day with all my tabs open on my computer.
Go to IMAX if you can.
I can't see it in IMAX.
Okay. I
live in rural America.
Okay.
I might see it in a cornfield, bro. So just so you know. But I have this week. This is why comes at such a perfect time for me, and I feel like God works this way in my life. For the last week and a half, I've been very frustrated, and I've been writing about creativity because the work that I have been doing for the last 3 or 4 years has me bored as hell. And the persona and the writing and the stuff that I've done for the last 4 years has me bored as hell. And it's not my calling. And my calling always was, as a young person, was to be creative, right? But I never called myself a creative. But even though I did poetry, I did prose, I did writing, I did music, did theater, did all these things in terms of writing. I did all those things, but never considered myself a creative after I started doing activist type stuff. And I hit a wall on that. So this last week, I just been watching a lot of dope kind of Black creator content, right? And one of them was I don't know much about Tyler, the creator, but I ended up watching an hour worth of interviews with him, random different ones, talking about the creative process and creativity and whatnot. Of course, I did the Rick Rubin stuff or whatever. So what excites me about this movie is it feels like this is not being an influencer. This isn't just being a successful movie writer, whatever. This is about being a creative, taking things that don't exist and putting things that don't exist into the world. That to me is like being a creative. And I need that right now because there's so many people in my network trying to be influencers with nothing worth influencing, right? Not a damn thing. I just want to be an influencer, but with what? Are you Basquiat? Like Charles Shirt? What you got going on? Yeah. Matter of fact, Charles ended up watching a lot of his stuff this week. There's stuff about his work ethic or whatnot. I hope that young people and people in general come out of this thinking to themselves that they could tap into that part of themselves, like the creative part, whatever, more than the facile stuff that we have people that are, I want to be an influencer, I want to be a YouTuber, I want to be this, that, and the other, but be creative first.
Though, I think what's happening now is, first of all, I think the whole idea of an influencer has got almost reaching saturation point. And I also think that there are people out there who want to do stuff. They want to be creative. There's kids out there and older people who have gifts and talents, but there's no infrastructure for them to be able to capitalize on it. And I feel like what's going to have to happen, and I feel like it's starting to happen that way now. Anytime you have an overabundance of something in the market starts to correct itself. If you have too many rappers, people get tired of that, they start doing something else. If you got too many people who are influencers, and like you said, what is an influencer? That is just basically an attractive younger woman who runs around with a cell phone traveling and stuff like that. That's really what it is. Or a dude who's wilding out on the stream while he's gaming and everything. Eventually that market's going to get saturated and people are going to get hungry for actual entertainment outside of just watching other people do stuff. What that looks like, I don't know, but I feel like the room is getting ready to open up for that some of the stuff to happen. But there also has to be a pipeline for them to be able to do that work and be able to find an audience for that stuff to happen and be able to support themselves. You know what I mean?
Well, I think here's my cynical brain about this sort of thing, though, is what type of pathway are you setting up for other people to come behind you? I mean, I look at you mentioned Spike Lee a few times in this. Spike was a rare one to come out of nowhere, kind of with his own kind of genre and lineage. He created his own kind of lane. But what came behind him? There weren't maybe Robert Townsend, with some comedy stuff, maybe the Wayans brothers with some, franchise stuff that they did, but not a Spike Lee, not another. Where's his film school, for instance? You know, because he is a walking film school.
I think he teaches at NYU.
What's his name?
He teaches at NYU too.
Robert
Rodriguez.
Rodriguez. He did the Spy Kids thing, right? You know, made another damn near $1 billion doing the kid stuff, right? But he owns a studio, kind of like the Medea man owns a studio, but who's coming through it, right? Like,
he has a network. He had a network called El Rey. Robert Rodriguez had a network called El Rey that was just doing Latin films and everything for a hot minute.
I didn't know that. I mean, that's Chris, my point. Like, was like, you know,
don't lose your point. Because I see a lot of Latino stuff bubbling about it wasn't no Latino representation or whatever. But Robert Rodriguez made sure he was at that damn screening and sprayed so much love on it, like, you know, because there's like he stole everything from Dusk Till Dawn in this, and Robert Rodriguez was like, just shut up, like he is the one, like he's Vader, he is the one. But I didn't want you to lose it because there's a bubble up, not of all the brown people, but there's a contingent of brown people that are starting to stir up some noise. I'll send you.
Where's that at? Yeah, where's that?
I'll send it to you. It's right on my page. If you put up the screen, just go to mine. I reshared it with a "get out of here," and it's just a Latino dude that's just trying to go in and talk about how, you know, this black dude stole everything from the Latino community, and it's at 5 million views right now. So
this is my point right now, though, is if the sum total of your talent is being online, pulling shit down from other people who have created something and put it out in the world, cultural appropriation, or you took that from it, blah, blah, blah. As you're saying that, as that's
it's in a private chat,
as that's coming out your mouth, what are you producing?
Nothing.
Is that what you produce? Every day you just produce online critique of nothing, right? We need more producers. You know, we need far less consumers. We need more producers and people who produce something of value, something of interest. But, you know, y'all talked about this last week. If social media had existed in past times, there's a lot of stuff we probably wouldn't have right now.
Bruh, telling you.
Right? And it's because everybody has no talent. Their only talent is ripping down talent, jumping online and just like, you know, blasting things right now. Now, listen, everybody, Rotten Tomatoes exists for a reason. Mm-hmm. It does exist for a reason because sometimes the teardown is worth it. You know, sometimes you deserve it. But in a situation like this right now, this whole black brown thing just gets on my nerve. Anyways, you know, y'all stole this from us. You stole that from me. Blah, blah, blah. No one stole this from nobody. It sounds to me, I haven't seen it yet, but it sounds to me like he stole this from himself. Right. I hope so. I feel like I'm a little scared now because y'all love it so much. I just feel a little scared. I feel a little scared. I feel like I'm gonna run headlong into some bullshit here.
You were scared, huh? Don't be scared. Come on, what movie is that from, Chris?
You know, listen,
it's from Life, brother.
You know, because there's listen. I mean, when you said the thing about the other movies you felt guilted into liking, I like those movies. I had to feel.
Well, I'm just saying, like sometimes there's a movie that comes and people will like try to get like when Red Tails came, right? I went and saw Red Tails. I enjoyed the movie and the story, but I just remember the campaign behind it, like you know what I'm saying. And I lived in the Bay, and George lives in the Bay, so you got a lot of that. It was fine, like it was good. I'm just saying, like I don't need to guilt you. There's gonna be somebody who don't get none of the symbolism. And they're gonna love the movie.
Yeah, but you said earlier in this conversation, you said it's not, in my mind, it's not guilting if it's a social political thing, because you said the very same thing in this one. It's important for us to go see these movies on the opening weekend. Why is it important? Because the industry, the way that the industry works. That's why when
if you want to get more movies like this, it's important. You got to have a proof point that they can make money.
And I loved Red Tails more than I like the reboot of
and I like Red Tails, by the way.
That Tom Cruise movie, whatever that reboot was that he did. What was it?
Oh,
from the 80s
Top
movie?
Gun? Top Gun was good too. Top Gun was still good though, but I got you.
I mean, you're always going to do that. You're always going to do that when I'm making a point. But I'm just saying right now.
It was one of my favorite movies the year it came out.
I don't need another Tom Cruise movie for any political reason because Tom Cruise can make those movies whenever he wants. Yeah. But when it came to Red Tails, like those movies are going to be few and far between. You know, which is why that's why it becomes more of a political thing for our audience, because it's kind of like they keep telling us that black movies can't sell. That they've been saying that for years. Nobody who's not black wants to watch black movies, right? That's the Hollywood, thing. Everything you have told me tonight, says to me that, well, Coogler can produce something that is universal and stay black, right?
Yeah, because the movies, that's a very good point, because a lot of times when I've talked about this before, there was a maybe 4 to 5 year run, I'd say from 2015 around 2020, where there was some real cornball, like disconnected black content that people are trying to push up. Now we're talking about guilting people and this stuff. There was a lot of podcasts that were happening, and there was a lot of this. I call them cul-de-sac blacks, people who grew up like in cul-de-sacs, like Nunu from ATL.
You're just wrong.
I'm being real. These are people who discovered.
Give me back my chain.
These are people who discovered their blackness in Morehouse
in
college.
college.
All of a sudden they've been how can I say, they've been Hillary Banks their whole life. Then they turn into Asada Shakur when they get to college and everything, and they start overcompensating. And a lot of those people, and a lot of those people were making content that was over the top, like Dear White People and stuff like that. I just say it was like, y'all doing too much, and you putting too much like super overdoing it on top. Even some of the blackish
that one. I have to agree with that one. Yeah.
Even some of blackish stuff. Some of that stuff is just way over the top. It's like
blackish, but that Dear White People thing felt a little derivative.
Sometimes they do a little too much. It's like, you giving me blackness from people who trying to tell themselves that they're black. I don't really need to do all that.
Yeah, that's exactly what Dear White People was.
Yeah,
Dear White People was exactly that.
Yeah. You talking all this outside of Shakur stuff, you getting in bed with Chad, but that's a whole other conversation in real life too. But that's a whole other conversation. But the thing of it is
you done got torn going, Chris.
I know. Here come the FBA. Here we come. Whole Tip Central.
But here's the thing about that. This movie did not really have to code switch to get people who were not black into it, because I'm telling you, when you see the movie, they get into some real deep, heavy stuff that only black people say with each other, and they get deep into it, and they don't sugarcoat it. And but everybody in the movie was like I said, when I came out of the movie, it was white people, white girls, everybody was saying, damn, it was a good movie. I felt that.
But my point about that was, it's a breakthrough, because the standard line is there's too few black audience, too small of a black audience, and black movies don't sell beyond black people. That's the Hollywood line, right?
Which is a lie.
So that may be a reason that they want to downplay this, right? They don't want this to be the magnum opus that it deserves to be, because
I think that. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Chris.
Well, no, there's going to be a whole bunch of black folks that are going to show up now and be like, "Oh, is the door finally open? Did we do it now? Did we do it now?"
I think there's two things at play. Hollywood. I think this movie, it's one of those things where, like, Hollywood is never going to turn down money, but when you turn down money that comes from black people, and there's a possibility that black people can gain power from it, then they have a problem. So the Hollywood press, which like it running on like whatever instructions they were given from the Hollywood studios, because believe it or not, the studios direct the film studios direct what stories get put out and how they're toned in entertainment media. I think the tone is, we want to be able to try to control this, but we don't know where it's going to go. So we got to downplay. It's the old story. So we got to downplay it and see it as less than, just so we can try to get control of it, so we can lower the value. But I think because of social media is a double-edged sword. It's a blessing and a curse. The fact that social media and people on social media can go tell Variety, and they can tell a Hollywood Reporter, man, go to hell, man. This is what we watching. Why y'all making these bullshit headlines up? To the point where Variety and Hollywood Reporter have changed their headlines and saying Sinners is a box office smash all of a sudden. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they changed that quick.
Yeah, that's the power. That's the power of people. That's the power of digital media, where you can get an instant. You don't have to wait for Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert to tell you what's good now. You can tell it yourself, and you can make a word of mouth campaign, and then you can get actors who are on the inside and say, "This is the greatest movie I've seen all year. Go watch this."
So I think it's hilarious that somebody's going to watching this is going to say, "Who's Siskel and Ebert?"
Oh wow!
Wow.
That's where I started loving movies, man. I started loving
that show. They used to get hot with each other.
Then Ebert and Roper
and hide it. They used to hide
it. Roger Ebert was with Oprah? Anyway, they're like a
Charles. I don't know why you needed to show me this, because I clicked on this link, and this is what's wrong with TikTok. Everybody's
is it TikTok?
Yeah, it looks like it's on
X,
Twitter,
I think,
but I think it. What they do is they put their TikToks on Twitter now.
Got
right?
you.
But they become think pieces.
Yeah, you want to put it up or
nightly think pieces? I can, but I know that it's going to make me now go get on my TikTok That's what's about to happen. He's about to go get a TikTok.
And just go say, shut up.
Right. It's gonna be the shortest one ever. Man, shut up.
It's
right?
just a what about me when you see somebody having a, and this is the thing though, right? The underlying thing about this and what this conversation starting is that we cool and we solidarity until a black person gets something that you think you deserved. And now it's like, I'm supposed to be higher than you. I'm supposed to be like, our stuff should be up there getting done. And it also made me think of, I was trying to pull his name, Chris, before you lose it, don't lose your point, was John Singleton. It's like John Singleton was one of those people that came out the Spike, and he was still restricted to the type of movie he made. You know what I'm saying? But you can go ahead and play a little bit of this dude if you want.
I'll just say, first of all, I got several hot takes tonight, but this one is John Singleton was never good.
Oh, you gotta stop this.
Man, look, I'm about to get on this call with that.
You gotta stop this. You have got to stop this.
No, you know what? Actually, because this was I held one back earlier. I have two hot takes tonight. John Singleton was never good. If you go back and watch Higher Ground now, or Higher Learning, if you go back and watch Higher Learning now, that's such a cornball movie. If you go back,
Higher Learning got black kids in the hood reading Frederick Douglass, bro. That's how good Higher Learning was. It got black kids wanting to run track, bro. It got black It
did have them wanting to run track, but they thought they were running away from
to get Tyra Banks?
The cul-de-sac.
Oh, yeah, well,
in the cul-de-sac, they thought they was running from bullets. No, you just had college. I'm sorry. Like
you're tripping. Boys in the hood, bro.
Everybody listen to this right now. Go watch Higher Learning. And come back to us next week.
And Boys in the Hood.
Thing I was going to say, go watch Boys in the Hood first, though.
Boys in the Hood.
Well,
that's a masterpiece.
Absolutely,
it was a masterpiece, maybe, but it doesn't hold up.
It doesn't warned black people about gentrification. No. It was one of the best explanations of gentrification 30 years before the shit started happening at the level that it was doing it. He was more effective at talking about gentrification than Spike Lee was and Do the Right Thing. He gave you a lecture in the middle of the movie and from a strong black father. Like, what are we talking about?
You know, this is what I'll say. Like I put that on the level of Juice. If y'all remember the movie, Juice,
I remember Juice too.
Yeah,
I put those on the same level, right?
Nah, bro.
I don't put those on the level.
And also, Juice was an incredible movie as well.
I thought it was amazing, but it wasn't epic. It was like you said earlier, like you talked about Dune. Here's my third take. Dune is trash. Dune is trash. And August Wilson made me want to kill myself in the play. Like when I was there, it was like
tripping.
It was 4 hours.
What are you
long,
on, bro?
4 hours long. It was 4 hours.
Which play did you go see?
I can't even remember.
Oh
it was 4 hours.
So disrespectful.
I walked out. I was like, I hate this. This is boring as hell.
I love the piano lesson. I think the piano lesson might be one of the best ones. I love the monologue in Fences.
Ma Rainey's Black Bottom too. I love
Ma Rainey, and that's the first one. I love. And that's
watch Fences, and I couldn't get through it.
Fences is a masterclass in acting, man. I
Maybe
just don't.
It is, but I felt like this is over my head in terms of like, because everybody loves this. This is like great acting. I felt like that's one of the ones where I felt like I was guilted into having to like it because everybody thought it was so like, oh, it's like, you know,
Paul, why you don't like me? Paul, why you don't like me? Who says I got to like you? But listen, man, the of what a father was in that time, or what he was expected to do, or coming home and giving your check to your wife and having your beer, and you ain't got much in the world but your little bitty Pittsburgh backyard. I mean, I love August Wilson. Never lost his connection to the streets and to those, like a jitney. Like I was introduced to jitneys from him, like just that folk legend telling stories. I mean, Tyler Perry before Tyler Perry of telling our stories in a way that you didn't feel degraded or whatever. I mean, and he was just the company that allowed so many black actors places to where they couldn't get on Broadway, and like they made it prestige. He helped produce Denzel Washington. He helped produce Pauletta Washington, Sam Jackson's wife, fucking Mufasa.
Most Def was in there with stuff too.
Yeah, like James Earl Jones. Like it's just, I hear you. I'm not. You get to have your thoughts, but
another hot take. Another hot take.
Go ahead.
Is that Medea doesn't get enough credit. because
I actually
sometimes
have a problem with
No,
that.
I
I don't have a
agree.
problem with
sometimes
it.
you don't want all this
That's
highbrow shit.
that's the first thing you said. I agree with.
I
that.
agree with
Yeah.
that too. Yeah, I like. Listen,
You know, they
I'll
told
find
that
a
they
clip
told
where he
that
breaks
man
it
they
down.
told that man black church going people don't buy tickets. That's what they told
Listen,
him.
bro. He had
That's what
old church
Lionsgate
ladies.
told him.
He had
Yeah.
old church ladies bootlegging DVDs, bro. My mom and her church friends were watching illegal plays, bro. Like after
on
church,
fire sticks.
just before Fire Stick, bro. This is like you get this. Go to your barbershop. Go to the barbershop and give me that new Tyler Perry movie.
I knew you one better. I knew ladies who was going to church that was selling the DVDs in the little flat thing when they used to sell them like
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely.
So
with the
Lionsgate told him
Xerox
that
cover.
is fired, right? Whoever told him that from Lionsgate is fired. I'm sure.
But you know what? That's almost like part of the course you're dealing with black content. It's like people like it, but they don't really take it seriously until they see the money
Right.
starts generating, then they start doing it. And it's kind of ironic because the thing we're talking about with Ryan Coogler is the same thing that happened back in the 70s. People don't I forgot the name of the documentary, but people don't remember the film industry in America was damn near dead. It was bankrupt. A lot of major studios was in bankruptcy. MGM was about to go into. A lot of other studios like Columbia when it folded, like Paramount, some of the others was damn near. Paramount was like 2 days away from getting bought by creditors. You know what? Say the movie.
I hope you about to say Melvin. I hope you about to say Melvin.
I'm about to say two. To say
Okay.
two. The first thing that showed Melvin Van Peebles' Sweetback's badass song. It didn't necessarily save the film industry, but it showed them that an independent black movie catered to this audience will bring in a
It
shit
got to
ton
be
of
him and
money.
Dolomite. Then I'm trying to
The
guess.
second, the movie that really saved the film industry was Shaft. Shaft was a movie done by MGM. The movie made, if you're just a inflation, about $100 million off of this. And this is a black ghetto story told about a black private eye. It was basically a black remake of the Philip Morrow Maltese Falcon sort of story. That blew up and that opened the door for all these movies. But before you knew it, every studio that was damn near about to get sold into bankruptcy and people was about to come take stuff off the lot, they started pulling in Sheba Baby and Pam Grier and Foxy Brown and Cleopatra Jones. All those movies saved Hollywood. And then what happened?
I'm not mad at him for that.
But the movie,
I'm not even a little bit.
Hey,
mad
you're gonna
about
have that moment in this movie coming up, brother.
I'm not even a little bit angry. I'm not even the tiniest bit angry about that.
The minute those studios got into black, ironically off of Superfly and Shaft and all that stuff, and shut that stuff up and started signing Mel Gibson and started doing Road Warrior.
Bro, I was too young to watch that stuff.
All those movies funded all that stuff that came later.
Wow.
I was too young to watch it, but you know that was back in the days when old people would take you to see things you weren't supposed to see.
Yeah.
And Superfly and all that. Let me tell you.
Yeah, Willie Dynamite, all that stuff.
All that stuff.
Can you tell it? Because you're a little older, just a little, and you was there for it. What was it like going to see? Because I want to start a film club. I actually got a book club. I want to start a film club and revisit some of these movies. Like I want to know what it was like when you watching Cooley High or whatever. Anyway, but when you got to see those movies and you were young seeing those movies, which somebody that your age will probably have this moment with Ryan's movie. But what was it like you seeing those movies in the theater? I gotta know.
I just want to say to you that there was things that you could get away with then that you can't get away with now, right?
Okay.
And there's things that you could take your kids to that you couldn't get away with doing it now, right? I don't know if y'all ever heard of a movie called Looking for Mr. Goodbar, but
I have not.
They took me to see that movie. That movie jacked me up for a long time because the end scene is crazy.
In that movie about a white chick trying to basically becoming a swinger, going out there dating a bunch of dudes and stuff like that.
And at the end, it has a real twist or a real jacked up turn that's too adult. They took me to see The Exorcist. And at the time I was Catholic. The Exorcist is a very Catholic movie. If you're not Catholic, The Exorcist doesn't do anything for you, right? But if you're a Catholic, The Exorcist is bro, listen, 25 years later, they put out the remake. Not the remake. They put out the original director's cut. I don't know if you don't know this. When the Exorcist first came out, people were passing out in the movie theaters.
I've heard.
So they had to pull it, and then they cut it, and then they put it back in the theaters again because people were getting physically ill in the movie theaters. And I don't know if y'all know this. Everybody associated with the movie had a very weird downfall. Like something befell each one of them one by one. But they took me to see that. And then I had to go to mass the next day. But you couldn't do that type of stuff now. That would call out Child Protective Services. Listen, there was stuff that they
But what was the community? What was it like in the streets or just in the ether in the middle of black exploitation, and one of the big ones, like the Foxy Cleopatra, whatever. Like,
You know,
I think the
looking
two
back
biggest
at
ones
it,
were like Superfly and Shaft. Those are the ones that really blew up.
okay. Well, I'm
Superfly
just
and
curious
Shaft.
what it was like outside.
but
Know?
it
the Mac.
felt like it wasn't. In a lot of ways, it felt like it wasn't just a movie. It felt like it was just your normal life. Like some of the characters that would be in those movies felt like people that were friends of my father, like friends of my dad's, right? So, like he had a roommate called Calvin, who looked just like Superfly. And as a kid, I wanted a perm because I was like, my man got the flyest perm ever, and you know, and everybody wants him and whatever. There was a janitor at my school named Anthony, I think it was, and he had me telling my dad I wanted to be a janitor because Anthony came to school with a silk shirt and platform shoes and a perm, right? Right. I thought
As a janitor, what you cleaning in
as a janitor, as a janitor, bro. Like he was the school janitor.
But that shows you the power of these images, though, because you got to think about it. Same thing with Black Panther. You had kids all over the world wanting to be Black Panther. They were selling. I saw white kids in Walmart walking around with Black Panther masks and the gloves on and stuff like that. That's how powerful that image was. So you think about that back in the 70s and 80s when you got to think about this. The most virile images of like masculinity were black men. You had Shaft walking down the street telling white people whatever the hell he wanted to tell them and stuff. You had like Superfly, who was a pimp, maybe not the best image and everything, but he had all these women he was controlling. I don't care who you are. Men responded to the idea if I can tell women whatever I can, and I got this control. Same thing with the Mac. You got the Mac. It's funny now going back and look at it, but there's a scene in the Mac where the song "I Choose You" came from. He's got this rich white girl that you spit the game, getting in her head and everything, and you can't tell me as a young 15-year-old boy thinking I want to go do that. That's how powerful images are. I still remember that scene, baby.
You know what?
With a pretty little girl named Mary Ann in the baby. We gonna go all the way to the top, baby.
Superfly flipped the game. He flipped the game on the man. That was the big thing about Superfly. Like at the end of it, he's like, you better hope nothing. I don't think y'all know this. Maybe you do know this. After Superfly, Gordon Parks took over. So you know Gordon Parks shot Superfly, right?
He did Shaft too. I think he directed.
Well, so Superfly went to Africa after the next movie was Superfly Goes to Africa. And have y'all ever seen this?
I have not.
Y'all gotta pull this up because my man's perm gets jacked up because he really went to Africa.
They
shot it over there and it was humid as hell. And they shot Superfly in Africa, whatever. And it looks like you just got off the plane with a Super 8 and took a movie. But you could do that back then because this is how segregation works. I don't know. Y'all watch all the biggest movies of that era. Very few black people in anything. You watch an entire Star Wars trilogy and didn't see many black people. It was that way with most blockbuster movies. Superman, it was a big deal when Richard Pryor was in that janky ass Superman.
It was terrible.
Superman 4 or something like that. Yeah,
movie, and his part in it was horrible. It was like, hey,
it was terrible.
He was also the toy too,
he had a run of movies that started ending with the toy. The toy was like the end of the good
Superman, Superman did have, ironically, the first Superman did have the black pimps. My man, that's a bad outfit.
See, this is my point. Right. Those movies back then, you had one black guy, and the one black guy in every movie was like, "Yeah, baby," like in every movie. But then you had the black movies. You had the black movies that you could go see, and everybody was black in the black movies. Now, it's a little bit. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit like that too. But at least you have black leading actors and actresses that you didn't have.
You know what I was gonna say, and I think you know this about me, Chris, because I talk about it all the time. I'm a big Eddie Murphy fan, and when Eddie Murphy wanted to put out, like when he made Boomerang, and just hearing the story of how Boomerang came together and his own money, having to deal with the production companies, having them give him notes because there wasn't enough white people in it, and he was on that HBCU stuff first. He was on that Black Excellence, or it's a black ad agency. And we do business with the French, and there's two women that are incredibly gorgeous, and it was such a risk then that a movie like Sinners can come out now and be praised, and Murphy, you had that clip a few times, Chris. I have to find it, the one on him on a talk show, and he just is like bold in it. You know what I'm saying? And he started reading those. I think, and damn, help me out, Chris. I don't want to misquote it, but I know it was like reading one of the white critics or something like that. He read you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
it makes me proud every time I see it.
Right now, because you're bringing up like a point almost nobody remembers. Everybody right now, I want y'all to go back and read the movie reviews of Boomerang. Just do it as like you could teach a class on it. And let me cut to the chase. The white reviewers of Boomerang said that it was unrealistic because everybody in it, they were black people that were all in executive positions. That because of that, it was unrealistic. Right. First of all, it's a goddamn comedy, right? Like, you know, realism. But then again, you know, Eddie Murphy, this is because you a fan. I'm a big Eddie Murphy fan. And
he's my favorite. He is my favorite.
18 years old. I saw him first time when he was 18. They have said that man's career has been over like 15 times. And every single time that man comes back, like, do you know how much money Daddy Daycare made? Do you know
that's what he's still living on? So.
How many different kids did I have saw that movie?
Yeah,
right. Dr. Doolittle, Nutty Professor.
Yeah.
Even Norbit was funny.
Right? Yes, man. Like people can say what they Norbit got jokes, bro. I'm sorry. How are you doing? I'm sorry, bro. Go ahead, man.
No, and also you talk about that pipeline and everything. People forget how many comedians that Eddie Murphy put on.
Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock.
Yeah, Dave Chappelle, Martin Lawrence, and Boomerang. Ironically, you know what I mean? All these people,
David Allen Greer,
Tisha, all these folks, man.
Taking care of Red Fox. He paid off Red Fox, like you paid for Red Fox to be.
There you go.
Yeah, to be. I mean, and that's what I was gonna get to ask y'all before. Hopefully, I get to ask before we go. Just what type of movie can Coogler make now? And like, if Ryan Coogler could redo Harlem Nights. And with his own spin, it would be some of the biggest shit ever. And it'll be a huge vehicle. If Ryan Coogler wanted to do The Matrix, like he can do any type of movie.
They messed up my Matrix. They messed it up.
They did. I think they did it intentionally though. That was they didn't because they didn't want to do a sequel at all. And they said we just gonna sabotage.
I'm gonna be honest. I never saw it. When I saw that Lawrence Fishburne wasn't gonna be Morpheus, I didn't even want to see it. I haven't
terrible.
seen it.
I don't want to lose this point. Charles, to what you just said, because I really believe in my heart of hearts that I should get to play Red Fox in the biopic. I really feel like, and I honestly believe this, that I should get, I should get that part. I've wanted that part for years.
Do the voice.
I'm not going to do it right now because I'm not auditioning.
No check.
I don't want nobody stealing my thunder. But I listened to the man's albums when I was.
Did you feel like you had a Red Fox in your family? Did you have like an uncle or grandfather?
My grandfather was looked like a lot like Red Fox. So when I would see Red Fox, in some ways, it was like seeing a family member or whatever. But in those days, your older folks would have the albums: Richard Pryor, Red Fox, Flip Wilson, all those. So you would wait for them to leave, and then you would sneak in and risk getting your ass whooped by listening to those albums. I'd never laughed so hard in my life. There are like 8 jokes from Red Fox that he told in his entire life. As a kid, those were the funniest things I ever listened to. It's kind of like that. What was the movie where Andy's got a joke?
Oh yeah, it was Delirious. It was Delirious or Raw. It was Raw, I think. The beginning of Raw.
When he's a kid and stuff,
yeah.
When he was a kid.
And then he kicked him in a ding ding. That boy got talent. You know who was in that? Samuel L. Jackson was in that, and Samuel L. Jackson was in that. Yeah, Robert. Oh well,
Robert Harris played the dad.
Did he? Oh yeah, Robert.
Yeah, he played the dad. That boy got talent.
I think Keenan wrote it. Him and Keenan wrote it. Ashley from Fresh Prince was in it. She was the little girl. The little boy was the little boy from Cosby Show. And yeah, man. But them kind of jokes, man. Samuel L. Jackson, though, baby. He's putting them on early.
Mm-hmm.
Eddie Murphy in every single generation has put on new talent and like introduced them, got them a bag. So people can say whatever they want to about him, but like if you were a comedian and he saw something in you, like a lot of people forgot that he gave Dave Chappelle some of his first stuff on screen as the comedian Reggie, or like Reggie. Reggie is gonna have to karate side anyway. It's just he's just. I mean, but now there's a Ryan Coogler, and this is what I'm saying. I was just playing with the idea of Ryan is in a position where he can really do. He's not like with Poole. Poole has relegated himself to social commentary horror. Like that's kind of the lane. Ryan can go in. If Ryan wants to do a version of Frozen, if he wants to do a cartoon, he can do it. If he wants to do another horror, if he wants to do sci-fi, if he wants to do Uptown Harlem Night, like Uptown, was it Uptown Saturday Night or whatever? If he really wanted to do Uptown Saturday Night, do you like people would be lined up to see Uptown Saturday Night, dude? Like that's crazy.
The thing I will say, I think that's the one genre that I'd have to see something from him to be able to, because I haven't seen him do anything comedic. That would be I wonder if it was, I don't know his personality. I don't know if it would be a stretch. Comedy is hard. But I think
he wanted to do Coming to America touring, but he was already going with the other cat.
But here's the thing, though. I think what would happen for that to work, I think it would depend on who he casts to be around him and stuff. If he gets top flight comedians and people who can pull that together, and he takes care of the visuals and does a good plot line and good story, and let them do that, and let them riff, it could be really funny. It just depends on who he pulls in. He may have to grab some people that are fun. He may have to grab some people who are new and up and coming and stuff. I'll tell you right now, if he was going to do something in the movies you talk about, I think the cats from 85 South would be interested to see them in this.
I can see that.
Because they have a natural sort of flow with each other. They would be cool to see them with a Ryan Coogler, see how that plays.
You know what? You're making me think. I don't know why there isn't a major like Eddie movie that has everybody in it, like Cat Williams and Dave and everybody. Like just make it a Harlem Nights. But
Kevin's been trying to. Kevin's been talking about Harlem Nights, and I kind of don't want him to touch it. But yeah. Kevin, go ahead.
The closest thing I've seen is that Eddie actually do. I think Dolomite Is My Name kind of had some of that because he pulled in a lot of
it was great.
It was so good. It was good.
It was so good. And it was another one of those things where they belittled him. They belittled him. Oh, does he still have it? Man, y'all been saying that since y'all said that in 83, 93, 2003, 2013. You said the same thing over and over again. This man did kid movies. He did stand-up movies. He did like way off the beaten path. Like, what was the weird movie with Steve Martin?
Bowfinger.
Yes.
Yeah.
Crazy, weird, like independent.
Holy
stuff,
Man. Yeah. But and also the sister, and he cast that sister, the heavyset dark-skinned sister, who then went on to win an Academy Award. But he gave her that look in Dolomite. She went on and got that award last year. She did the movie with it was actually really good. They were in the school with the what's the white dude that can really act? He was in Sideways.
Paul Giamatti.
Paul Giamatti. She did the movie with Paul Giamatti last year, and she won an Academy Award. Like, but her look came in Dolomite. Like he does that. Like, and he puts these people in position. They ain't all winners, but he did that movie for Netflix and put everybody in it. He put Sam J in there. He put, he gives people opportunities.
I don't see them doing that though. So let me take that back. I see Cat Williams doing that. Constantly on a different level, right? And there's people that say Cat Williams has just given them money. As a matter of fact, he walk in, he see a comic, he's like, you good, and he sends somebody to send them some money, whatever, that sort of thing. I see Kevin Hart. He brought along Tiffany Haddish, which I think is an embarrassment. I thought it was funny for 5 minutes. I did. I thought in Girls Trip, I thought, oh my God, this is the funniest thing. Blah blah blah, and then come to find out it wasn't really her. It was the character that I thought was funny because she went off and did. I don't know. Did y'all see her special?
Yeah, I saw her special. I watched it. That's
the Black Bar Mitzvah.
Yeah, she's not a. Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, no,
Tiffany, I'm rooting for you, Tiffany. But yeah, it's not because you want to see her do well, but there's a lot of ways she gets in her own way, and you just there's a lot of talented people that didn't get those looks, but she did do good in that movie. But I do think, the person that did that, I just read his book. He's another one that I think tries to bring people together. Malcolm, what's his name?
Malcolm Lee.
He's the one who produced it.
Malcolm Lee.
That is.
Is it not Malcolm Lee? Malcolm Lee did, which was good. He did Best Man. Best Man was a really good ensemble cast. But no. The brother, he works with Kevin Hart all the time. He did freaking oh man, Think Like a Man. Those movies. anyway, I can't think of his name, but he's trying. But those movies again, they don't have. But this is the difference. Ryan Coogler is making prestige black movies, like they're prestige. And again, that's not to shit on nobody else because you need those other movies to get here. But how often do we talk about prestige black movies, black films? I remember Posse was supposed to be one of those. Y'all remember Posse when it had Lawrence Fishburne? I love that movie, right? But even in Posse, you had to have a bunch of white people in it too. But that was supposed to be black foray into black prestige, right? Or like the black Western. You know what I'm saying? Like there was a few black Westerns that came out and did okay. You know, Harder They Fall was the last one, which was really good with Majors in them. But even before that, it was with Mario Van Peebles in them. That was Posse. Okay. But yeah, like stuff like that. So, you know, I'm just saying if name 3 different movies that if Ryan wanted to, that he could do that you'd be interested to see.
Another hot take. Another hot take.
Go ahead. It's terrible. It's coming already.
See, I got to take the hot takes because, like, listen, I don't swim with everybody else. So, New Jack City was better than The Godfather. It was more entertaining. I had more fun with it.
Better is tough, but I love New Jack City and I love The Godfather. I love them for very different reasons.
I love them both, but one of them was a little bit more accessible.
To me, Godfather's better as a canon with more of an arc. Even though New Jack City had one, but Godfather was more of a character study, whereas like to me, New Jack City was more of like an economic study about how crack basically influenced like this community altogether. You know what I mean? You didn't really get into the psyche of a Nino Brown. You got to the psyche of a Don Corleone and everybody around his family, and that might be because they were white or Italian, so they would care more about their inner workings than they did everybody else. There's some
scenes in that movie where the women are putting crack in the vials.
Yeah, the breast out.
See,
because motherfuckers were stealing.
You don't get that anymore. You don't get that in movies anymore. That's back when movies was real movies.
I mean, look, the 90s and 80s did not care about a titty. I will tell you that. They really didn't. But
another hot take. They robbed my man, Mr. Tax Dude. They robbed him because as Blade started everything.
Oh, Wesley Snipes.
Yes.
Rob Wesley Snipes, yeah.
Blade started everything.
Oh, yeah, there would be no Marvel. There would be no Marvel without Blade.
Right.
And that was a black lead, not just a black, but a dark black lead.
And the movies was good.
And it was good. Yes.
The first two was good.
Right.
The first two, the second, the third.
The first two was good. That last one was that. But the first two was really good.
And they tried to bring him back, later.
They showed him some love. But I think they just announced last week that Blade is officially off the roster now. So I mean, it sucks for Mahershala, but here's the thing. You know who could bring it back if he wanted to?
Coogler.
Ryan fucking Coogler.
Yeah.
So like
he can make it Spawn meets Blade.
I love first off, I love Spawn. Spawn when that came, that was a good one. And the cartoon was just incredible for me. But seriously, y'all, 3 movies that Ryan Coogler could do that you would be interested in, like the concept that you'd like to see him try. Because he has a hall pass right now like no other. He could start a studio, bro. Like I think anyway, let me not get ahead of myself, but I think he could.
Here's one for sure. I feel like they did my man Jimi Hendrix dirty.
Okay.
And I feel like they should put, like, I don't know if y'all saw the movie The Doors. They did The Doors really good in that movie. Who was it? Who was that? That was the weird
Val Kilmer who just played.
Val Kilmer
played
Oliver Stone.
Oliver Stone. That was an out of character movie for him to make. They took somebody, he took something and it was a passion project. I want somebody to do that with Jimi Hendrix. And I think a Coogler would come out of genre to be able to do that movie really good. Because they did him dirty already. I don't know if y'all know this. The Prince biography is never going to see light of day.
Okay.
It's all done. One of the Edelman brothers finished it. It's like 10 hours long and it's supposed to be dope and the family won't let them put it out.
10 hours is a long time.
It is
somebody long time. I ain't gonna sit there and watch it.
I mean, but we live in a streaming era, man. It could be event television.
Yeah, I was about to say, y'all watch some things for 10 hours. People listening to this right now.
I watch Severance.
Things. Right.
Yeah, I watch Severance. I watch Prestige TV.
Somebody will do that in a weekend. Binge.
You can chop it up. I'll do it.
But you can't call it a movie. It got to be a series. Like it got to be a limited series, and I can do it.
So what about y'all though? What could he do?
I'll tell you right now, I would love to see Ryan Coogler do a Batman. I can see them doing that.
Ooh,
Wow.
ooh,
I can definitely
yeah,
see that going right up his alley. I can see him doing something amazing.
Yeah.
Like that.
yes.
Yeah.
Another hot take. Ben Affleck was the best Batman out of all of them.
Your hot
I like
takes need to
that.
be in the
I actually
microwave, brother.
he was. He was.
I
He was
actually
the
did.
best
I
out of
wanted to
all
see
of
him
them.
get his full shot. I wanted to see him get his full movie because it's the most adult. It was gonna be the most adult one, but you
Yes.
know, the last one was pretty good though. The little emo kid.
You know
I
what
think
though?
putting him up against Superman, that was.
But we got Batman. What else?
Yeah.
I just want to make one sidebar. If we're talking about influences on further genres, people keep sleeping on Batman the animated series. Back then,
Oh, that was incredible.
Look at that was the first cartoon. That's what people actually died. When you died, you stayed dead. They had people with severe mental
Yeah.
illnesses and stuff. People getting deformed and brutalized and stuff. I love that. But anyway,
And they showed the psyche. I mean, for it to be a kid show, they went into
Yeah.
some deep mental shit with like Bruce Wayne. Like it's like some
Yeah.
real stuff. But just so you know, you might not notice, Torrin, if you said that, they have a spiritual successor on Amazon. It's the same. They pay an homage to the animation style, and it's supposed to have the same mature theme. So go check out Prime. There's a new Batman that's in that vein. I don't know if it holds up. I haven't seen it, but it came out because the Batman dude also just passed away too. So he just died. He was like the best one ever.
talking about Kevin Conroy, who did the voice.
Yeah.
I don't want to leave this point. Who do y'all think is the best Batman?
Well, I mean, for me, I mean, I think I actually really like the Ben Affleck one. I wish but he didn't have his own vehicle to really do it, so I don't think he can win. And I always got to show love to Keaton just because that first one just broke the mold, and you got a Prince soundtrack. I mean, that was just it was really dope.
The album was dope,
and the Joker was really good. But I would say Nolan's.
I
mean,
can't stand the guy who made that movie. What's his name?
If I had to pick, I'd say Christian Bale was the
Tim Burton made the first one.
Tim Burton. I hate Tim Burton.
Yeah, I said Christian Bale. I said the Nolan Batman. I mean, it was such an elevated art form. Like he did stuff with Batman that people didn't think was possible, and it was like it launched kind of a new thing.
Here's my argument, because you said I need a microwave for my hot take. So so here's my argument. Ben Affleck grew physically for the part.
He's also a big guy, though.
He was a big guy, and he looked like he should be Batman because they put a lot of people in that Batman costume that had no goddamn business doing it. The first one was a comedian who had done Mr. Mom, and they made him Batman. That's the dumbest.
He killed that shit, though.
Yeah, y'all like it, whatever. I own all of them, too, by the way. I own every Batman. Now, I have a son who thinks that the last one, which to me just looked like Saw. It just looked like Saw. The whole movie didn't. It looked grimy, and he looked like I think you just said emo or something like that.
He's very emo. He was very whiny. He's very whiny, nasally.
They take him out of being a superhero, right? So in the beginning it was a comedy, kind of just I don't know, all that like kitschy stuff. And the last one was like horror movie. In the middle, you have Affleck, who did actual Batman stuff. And it was Batmanish,
Okay.
I don't think they should have put him against Superman because that's not even.
But that's big in the comic books, though. It's a big
I know,
run.
but you have to do a big stretch to make Batman with no superpowers.
What about the dude from Reacher? You think he'd be a good Batman?
Who's that?
Big swole dude.
He's huge,
Alex
Richmond. I think he would. I think Alan Rickman.
Mm-hmm.
I think Alan Rickman. I think I don't want to mess up his name, but he's really good. In
Alex
that
Richmond.
show.
Here's the thing about that. He's like this big, huge, swole
But
dude.
he's too big.
But here's the thing. He's also a good actor too. That's the thing. I've seen him do comedy, and he's good at that too. He was in a movie called I forgot the name of it. Something that was on TV one Saturday. It's like a knockoff of Inglourious Basterds. It's like an American version of. It's like a sloppy version of Inglourious Basterds, and he plays like this big, swole killer, like for the special forces. But he's funny, and it's kind of hard to pull off. The only time I've ever seen that really work was with Michael Clark Duncan and Batista, and like in Guardians of the Galaxy, to be a big, swole dude, to still be funny.
He did that really good.
Yeah,
he did that really good. Those movies were like sleeper to me because I went into them not knowing much about them. Like, this is gonna be some bullshit, and actually, those were great movies.
Yeah,
I thought all of them were great.
He was good in Blade Runner too. In a new Blade Runner, he had a good scene. He was hiding the baby, and he got sacrificed early on. But he can act. He can act. It was really good.
Guardians of the Galaxy is basically just pirates. It's like junk pirates in space. That's really what it is. They just put a little bit more razzle dazzle on it and stuff. Because all of them screwed up, and they go. It's like what's his face thinking Captain Kirk, but he's screwing up, but he just got godlike powers
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So he's just floating around. He's like a trust fund kid floating through space.
But that's and now he runs DC Studios, right? And that's what I'm saying. Like Coogler is in a position where he can get us. He can get a studio if he want one. And so I was just looking at, I think Coogler, and I was just looking at other genres. I think a Coogler Matrix type of movie would just be out of this world. I don't, what can that brother do what was the sister that everybody loves because of her fiction, her sci-fi fiction?
Octavia Butler.
If he wanted to do the Octavia Butler, like, can you imagine him with a Matrix budget doing an Octavia Butler? Like,
that's a good take.
And that's what I'm saying. He can do whatever he wants, and it's like I'm thinking of that. Like I thought, I know I get what you said about the comedy thing, but like a Harlem Nights type of thing, like it would be interesting. And I know it's time we got to get up out of here, but I would say. That's my wide spectrum though. Those two would be a like a sci-fi movie where he's not limited on budget and like really trying to do that Harlem Nights or Uptown Saturday Night type of movie. I think he would add something that only he could add.
Well, I'm gonna go see the movie this week. For people listening and watching it, if you haven't been here the whole time, we talked a lot about Ryan Coogler's new movie, and I haven't seen it. And these two have seen it. So I'm gonna go see it this week. And I'll have a book report to come back and deliver after I see it. I've heard I'm very happy about this because I haven't been excited about a movie in a long time because it's just been a dead season. It's been a dead. There was no summer blockbuster last year. There was no Armageddon, movie, right? So I need it. I need to feel like an in-game-ish type of attitude right now. So
Fantastic Four is coming soon, but I got you.
I mean, I hope it's going to be good. I mean, they didn't jack that movie up like 2-3 times. They messed up my Shazam like several times. They messed up Shazam. They did him so terrible. So I don't even want to talk about
Blame The Rock.
I don't even want to talk. Oh no, what's the one he did? Black
Adam.
Stop.
Yeah, Black Adam. But it also impeded on Shazam because he wanted to. Anyway, it was a lie.
Yeah. Anyways, all right. Well, listen. Final words, y'all. Anything?
No, just go see Sinners, man. It's worth the wait. Bring your family, take some more people, and support black movies that are actually good black movies, and make people come back for more.
See, there's the guilt.
I would say this.
No, I
don't see this movie. You ain't black if you don't see this movie.
No, I said good black movies. Don't say don't go watch something you got to sit there and clap like it's a child that's singing that you want to get off the stage on the talent show.
And I think I would say my final thought is Coogler, regardless of what you are, whether black or whatever, I think Coogler hit a different button. And if you've seen the movie, that button line makes a lot of sense too. But he hit a different button where he could make a very pro-black experience movie, but make it in this super wide appealing way. Like it's one of those movies that I do think crosses. And I think like I saw the Chinese community like really saying, yo, I've never really heard anybody talk about the role that Chinese merchants played, during Jim Crow and stuff like that. It makes you want to go look up things. So just kudos to the young man. I'm glad he's having his moment. And I just hope that people that's on their hater shit just don't overdo it. Like it'll come, but like let the brother have his moment.
All right, y'all. As always, almost 1,000 of y'all came through here, so I appreciate it. Y'all listening, watching. See you the next time. We're gonna try to do this twice a week. So I think I have a topic for the next one.
Oh, good. I'll start thinking of something too.
All right.
Next
Take it
time
easy, everybody. Peace.
Y'all have a good one. Peace out.
Yeah.